So good morning. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to our Kriya Yoga Alliance Sunday service. My name is Chris Sartain. I'm a member of the Kriya Yoga Alliance. We do these Sunday services every Sunday at 11 a.m. Although next week, the Sunday service will be at 9 a.m. with Ryan Kurzak. So that's the exception, but typically we'll do these at 11 every Sunday. But next week is at 9 a.m. with Ryan. Ryan also has his online retreat coming up in June. So hopefully y'all can participate in that. And you can find more information about that retreat and all of our offerings on our webpage, which is kriyayogaalliance.com. So there you'll find a list of the teachers and everything that they offer. kriyayogaalliance.com. You're also encouraged to follow us on our social media platforms. We do have an Instagram and a Facebook and a YouTube channel now as well. And so I've been posting these Sunday services to that YouTube channel. Just in case you miss one, you can go back and rewatch it there. And that's also called Kriya Yoga Alliance. You go to YouTube, just type in Kriya Yoga Alliance, and you'll find that YouTube channel. So hopefully you'll find that useful. This morning, I'll talk a little bit about compassion and the importance of compassion on the spiritual path, and then we'll have a chance to meditate together. Recently, well, really for a couple of years now, we've been having a few issues with some of the neighbors here. And so that has caused some stress. And really over the last couple of months, it's sort of reached a full crescendo, as it were. And so sometimes I find myself, oftentimes, let's say, reacting in ways that aren't beneficial or useful, not only for myself, but for others. And so I've been thinking a lot about how I can be more compassionate and be more loving, even towards folks that, I don't always get along with or see eye to eye with. And I'm sure we've all had plenty of experiences like that along our journey. So I just wanted to discuss that today. I've got a couple of quotes here that I'd like to share. One is from the Bible, the book of Matthew. Jesus says, "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy.' But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust." And Yogananda says, "Never be petty. Do not feed resentments against anyone. I prefer good-hearted sinners to so-called good people who are intolerant and devoid of compassion. Being spiritual is to have an open mind, understand, and forgive, and be friends with everyone." And so here we can see that the great spiritual masters encourage us to be compassionate and to love everyone, even our enemies. And of course, this can be quite challenging at times. But Jesus there was working from that Christ consciousness where he was able to see the sameness, the oneness of everyone. And so he saw through the superficial ego personality characteristics of each individual, and he saw their essence, which is the same in everyone. And so there was no discrimination between this person or that person. Oh, this person is evil, this person is good, this person is just, this person is unjust. He was able to see through all of that because he was working from a higher consciousness. And so we should all aim for that Christ consciousness. I find that following meditation, after I meditate, I am far more compassionate and far more loving than I am when I'm existing as the ego, when I'm trapped within this narrow bandwidth of frequencies that the ego exists within. And so I find that following meditation, during meditation, following meditation, those ego boundaries dissolve a bit and those harsh edges soften. And when that happens, I'm naturally more compassionate. I'm naturally more loving. And this is the case for everyone. This is because our true nature, the self, with a capital S, the soul, is inherently loving, is inherently compassionate. In other words, the divine is loving. The divine is compassionate. Roy used to say that that it was somewhat simple-minded to say that God is love, because often we hear that oftentimes, God is love, and that's true. That does not that is not a full holistic definition of what God is, of course. So it can be somewhat erroneous to say that God is love, but we can probably say that God is loving. God is compassionate. The divine is loving. The divine is compassionate. And because we are all divine at our core, and we are also inherently loving and compassionate beings. And so I find that spiritual fact to be quite reassuring and comforting. To know that at my core, at your core, at everyone's core, we are all compassionate, loving, kind, gentle beings. And so as we meditate, those ego boundaries dissolve, and we are able to exist outside of that narrow bandwidth that we might call ordinary human consciousness. And we become more open, and we become more heart-centered, more caring, more compassionate, kinder, gentler. And so that is a noble aim for all of us on the path. Oftentimes, especially in the yoga path, I think sometimes we tend to measure our spiritual attainment or spiritual progress based upon our meditations or the states that we're able to experience during meditation and all of that. And that is also a very good measure of our spiritual progress. But another way that we can measure our spiritual progress is how compassionate are we? How loving are we in our interactions with others? And not only our interactions, but also when we're thinking about certain people, especially those people that rub us the wrong way, those people we don't really see eye to eye with, that we don't get along with, people that might have different political beliefs than us. That's something that I think we've all observed in our lifetimes, and really, especially over the last decade or so, it seems to be getting more polarized. And so I sometimes see even great spiritual and religious figures and leaders. They seem to be very compassionate and loving to people that vote like they do, but they're not quite as compassionate and loving towards those folks that don't vote like they do, and might have different political beliefs or ideals. This is not ideal. You know, Jesus, Yogananda, all the great masters tell us that we should love everyone equally, not just those people that agree with us all the time. And so this can be a really great spiritual practice for us. And we never want to there's within psychology there's this term known as leveling. And so leveling is something that the ego does. And essentially, if we see someone that is maybe happier than we are, or more successful than we are, or more content or more peaceful, so the ego sometimes doesn't like that, and so it attempts to bring that other person down to its level. That's called leveling. So we never want to do that. We want to celebrate the success of others. We want to celebrate the happiness of others. It talks about that in the Yoga Sutras as well. And so one practice that you can engage in is just sort of a scientific experiment in your laboratory here. You can think about a person that someone that has done you harm, or someone that has caused suffering in your life, or maybe just even somebody you just don't get along with very well. Think about them before meditation, do your practice, do your sadhana, and then think about them again after meditation, and notice the difference and the quality of your reactions towards that individual. And notice that as those ego boundaries dissolve, that you have far more compassion and love towards that person. And so we want to do our best not to express those ego qualities when we're interacting with someone or thinking about someone. You know, are we being judgmental or critical, or jealous or competitive in some way? So are those ego qualities expressing? Or are we open and loving and kind and compassionate? Are we allowing those inherent soul qualities to shine through? And so I would challenge everyone this week to be loving, to be kind, to be compassionate, even towards those folks who have possibly caused us suffering, or people that we just don't get along with, people that vote differently than we do. So try to be as loving and kind and compassionate as possible in all of your interactions, and be an example. Be an example for others so that they experience those wonderful divine soul qualities shining through you. Be a channel for that out in the world. That's a big part of karma yoga, isn't it? So let's practice some meditation together now. So you're invited to sit up straight, sit up nice and tall. Close the eyes. Let's inhale deeply through the nose. Hold the breath momentarily. Exhale through the mouth with a sigh as you relax the entire body. Let's do that again. Inhale deeply. Hold it. And exhale through the mouth, relaxing the entire body. One more time. Inhale deeply. Hold the breath. Exhale and relax. Let's turn our attention inward. So we'll reverse that flow of attention and prana that's normally flowing outward and downward, and we'll allow the prana and attention to flow inward and upward instead. Inward toward the deeper layers of our being and upward toward the higher chakras. Notice the breath, observe the flow of air in the nose as you inhale and exhale. Allow the breath to deepen now. As you inhale, expand the belly, the abdomen, and the rib cage and the chest expand. At the end of the inhale, the shoulders lift a bit. As you exhale, relax the shoulders, allow the chest to contract, and at the end of the exhale, the abdomen contracts. Nice, deep, complete yogic breaths. fully present with the breath, grateful for each breath we're given in this body on this planet. If you normally practice Kriya Pranayama, you can practice a few Kriyas at this point. Otherwise, you're invited to continue observing the breath. If you'd like, you can add a mantra as you observe the breath. Simple one to use is Om as you inhale, peace as you exhale. Mentally, internally repeating Om as you inhale, peace as you exhale. Or you are free to practice any other technique. We'll be in the silence for a few minutes. Now, for the next few minutes of meditation, if you're using a technique, set it aside for a time. And now we'll simply observe. So, if there are any thoughts or emotions that occur, you'll simply observe all of this changing phenomena without reaction, without participation, without identification. Here we simply want to abide as the self, as the observer, your consciousness, our true nature. We are nothing that we can observe. The body, the mind, the ego, personality, all of these layers are constantly changing and impermanent. They have no fixed reality of their own. We are instead the observer of all of this changing, impermanent phenomena that we can observe. This observer that we are is pure, infinite, loving consciousness that never changes, that never suffers, that never dies. Now, with a simple act of intention and will, let's gently draw our attention and prana to the heart, the Anahata chakra, and from the heart chakra, let's radiate compassionate goodwill toward everyone, everywhere. From your heart, simply radiate love and compassion for all beings everywhere in this universe. The knowledge that our elevated states of consciousness have a beneficial effect for everyone, everywhere. We ought to meditate with this purpose or intention, selflessly benefiting and elevating the consciousness of everyone, everywhere. We'll chant the Bija mantra for the Anahata chakra, which is Yam, 3 times. As we do so, feel your heart expanding and showering the entire universe with love and compassion. Inhale. We honor the great saints and sages of all authentic enlightenment traditions, and especially the gurus of our lineage, Babaji, Larry Mashaya, Sri Yukteswar, Paramahansa Yogananda, and Roy Eugene Davis, and their successors. Let's chant Om to conclude. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Open your eyes slowly, return slowly. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you next week at 9 a.m. Be loving, be compassionate, be joyful.
God bless you, Chris.
God bless you all.